Hello. Maybe it's different depending on the circles you mix in, but if I run into people in the street when I'm walking down to get the mail or any other occasion I'm out of the house, I find that a common topic of comment, if not further conversation, is what the number of COVID-19 infections have been on the previous day. Well, I think that tells me about where all of our minds are in this time of crisis. And as those numbers continue to stabilise at quite a low level, so our expectation rises that things will once again come back to normal. The Premier's press conference this coming weekend on Sunday will undoubtedly be one that many people have a high expectation about perhaps some even acceleration of the roadmap out of restrictions moving forward. But sadly, we've seen in other countries, certainly we're seeing this in the United Kingdom, that the characteristic of an infection like this is its capacity of exponential growth in the rate of infection. The enjoyment people had over that summer period of less restrictions in the Northern Hemisphere, the opening up of borders and the more availability of people being to travel for tourism, it seems inevitably resulted in this second or perhaps it's even a third wave of infections that many countries are experiencing. And the forecasts, unless dire action is taken, are quite chilling. And so new restrictions are coming in the United Kingdom, and other places are tightening up very heavily on those things that for a while people enjoyed over the summer. And I think that's just to say that we need to be resolved to be in this for the long haul. We might be able to create something of a bubble, as the word is being used, of characteristics of low infection, but we're a highly interconnected world. And as people start travelling at all across the world, there's always that risk, as we've seen with quarantine breaches, even with the best schemes we can have. We saw this in New Zealand, which had enjoyed many weeks of no infections, and then an outbreak occurred. And I'm still unclear as to if people really understand the source of that infection. So we need to measure our steps and be careful that we are not over exuberant. As things open up, we're going to need to exercise an abundance of caution and prudence, and a continuation, really for us, from church people, of a continued time of sacrifice. Because from what we understand of the characteristics of the infection of this disease, we're at much greater risk when we're inside a building than when we're outside. Being close to people who are speaking loudly or singing increases the risk of the transmission of the virus if anyone is infected. So many of the things that are really part of the characteristics of our life of gathering together in the church are also ones that are likely to have considerable restrictions in place for some time ahead. And that's been hard. It's really been tough for people who've had their sense of isolation only increased by this. And if you're watching this and you've had to move into using more digital means and it's against your habits, against your expectations and understanding, thank you for doing that, because it's important you're not isolated. It's important you stay connected. And thank you to the clergy and other church leaders in the diocese, amongst our parishes and ministries, who've really gone an extra effort to ensure that people are connected. And I'm very grateful for that. For many of us who are leading worship, we're now finding that the day of the week when we might be recording Sunday services, I've just done one yesterday, it was a Tuesday, I did one the previous week was the Friday, the whole sense of a weekly rhythm is also disrupted, but we're glad to do that so that at least some pegs in the ground of a proper weekly rhythm of worship and nurture for a church community can be maintained. I've been pleased to be involved the week before that when I was at St Ainsworth Altona in the Zoom second church meeting, which also involves some breakout rooms. It's interesting how we've used the characteristics of architecture into the virtual space, but we had breakout rooms and people could discuss things and come back and interact. So I'm really encouraging you to persist in what we're doing. It will be a long haul. We will be exuberant when we see our expectations being met by very low community infection rates, but we need to maintain our carefulness, our vigilance, and much of that will also involve our continued sacrifice. So bless you, strengthen you and keep you as you continue in God's service as His disciples, as members of His church, loving each other and caring for each other in these difficult times. God bless you.